I didn't want to start setting the behaviour that would lead me back into prison. Like, you are the driving force for your own change. And I said, I've always been the kind of person that unless you get up and do it for yourself, no one's coming. But I guess I forgot that along the way. But what I started at that time in that journey is no matter how much growth I'd had in prison, I'd never took the journey of self-love. I still didn't love myself. I didn't see my own value or anything like that. And actually, until you do that, you won't get anywhere. So it wasn't like on that day I decided to like be this all-empowered human that just adored myself. But on that day I woke up and I chose me, and I chose to start trying to learn how to love myself. And I do now. And it will still constantly be a journey because you still get the imposter syndrome and stuff like that. But I chose, and I woke up that day ready to start inputting into myself and loving myself.
The good thing is, I think it strengthened like family relationships in the sense that like I wouldn't personally say, oh, mum, I love you, or like, yeah, bro, man, you good, yeah, or you know what I mean? But that made me more open to expressing myself in the sense that first time I think I told my mum I loved her as an adult was like on the prison phone.
Wow.
Like, oh yeah, thanks, man, love you. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So that kind of helped that.
Is that because you felt like you missed her?
Yeah,
or?
obviously you miss your family and you miss your people. So I think expressing that was helpful to coping. Does that make sense?
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, Zach, you're actually making my heart melt.
Is it?
Yeah.
Don't get soppy. I'm joking. But yeah, so that was good. And in terms of friends, it shows you who your real friends are.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So you know who really cares and who you didn't know cared. Because some people would pop out randomly like, I thought thinking about you, wrote you a letter. Here's some money as well. Like, hope you're all right. So that was good. Obviously, there's distance and time separating you and your family, but I feel like ultimately it made us a bit closer, more expressive. Myself anyway, you know. That's
really nice to hear that you were able to express those emotions. Yeah, it's so important.
Trust me. Don't ever feel the type of way to express. Tell your people you love them.
Go on,
man.
Zach.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
You see your son inside the prison. It was so hard. I never get, used to it at all. You never get used to it. I was never get used to it, because I remember some people, will see you and ask you, and said, I've heard that, I've heard this, I've heard Zach is inside. I said, so what? He will come back, and I'll come home, and it was, very, very sad. But now, people see me and ask me and say, oh, I see your son. He's doing well. He's looking good. And I said, I told you people that boy was so clever. He will come back and then he will move on with his life.
It's all that gym, Zach.
That's it, Zach. Yes. So.
It took a while, but when it came down to it, and when it happened, I had a ball. I enjoyed it.
I was gonna say, how did it feel? Tell us a bit more.
Well, this is how it felt. This is 2022. My first parole appearance for parole was in 2028, November of 2028. That was the first time that I would have walked in front of a parole board and tried to state my claim for release, or try to articulate why I should be released, whether I had accountability and all that. And I was like, ooh, they would have downed me. They'd have downed me, because when it comes to those conversations and them hammering you, I'd just be like, But it felt for me, being that I didn't have to go through that, being that the governor was just like, hey, man, based on what you're doing and how you're being a positive individual, I feel you should be released on parole immediately. Oh, I was happy. It was like winning a lottery. It was definitely winning the lottery, because it don't happen that often. But it do happen, but it don't happen that often.
Something that's very close to my heart is men think that it's weak to be vulnerable. Something really sad is every 2 hours, so by the time you've watched this show, probably another man will have taken his life. Every 2 hours in this country, a man commits suicide because we don't talk. We drink or have a sniff or end up in jail. I think there's strength in vulnerability.
100%.
I really do.
100%.
I really do. I think we live in a very judgmental society, and somebody asked me, what would I change? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. You know, I had to go through the things I went through to try and make people see the great. I went through what I went through so I can tell people. You know, we see somebody homeless on drink, on drugs, out on the streets of London, smashing stuff up, you know, and just displaying behaviours that we just find illogical, you know. We always go, what the hell is wrong with you? Or why are you doing that? You know, really angrily, it bothers us. We need to quit.
So like the guitar helped me because, you know, the things that I was writing, the songs I was writing was like, it was very introspective. It was almost like a diary that rhymed in it. I think which is the best ones because people can find it more relatable. And like I wrote some really serious songs and some that I'd never share, you know what I mean? Like it was just too intimate. But it was my way. And like when you ever go to therapy and things like that, I don't know if like many people are aware, but like they say to write stuff down because it helps in it. And obviously that was my formula for getting better and finding like triggers and stuff like that.
Sometimes I felt a bit like my mind was still in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel like that? Is it ever the case that you feel like I've still got a prison mentality, or do you now have a freedom mindset?
I don't believe my whole time in prison I was ever mentally in prison. You know, my mind always stayed beyond the gates. I always thought outside the box. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you do get into those situations where you trapped and you realize that and you understand that. But I've always just lived in my mind somewhere else. You know, I dealt with what I dealt with in prison, but I always tried to keep my mind outside the gates. And it worked. It was, you know, when everybody else was like in prison thinking about fighting their cases and shit, I was thinking about, man, we need to get this to the voters and the elections and let's try to do that, you know. And everybody's like, but you know, we was trying to do it. So I always thought differently, I think. And I think that was the one thing that probably kept me sane in there, was just thinking differently.